What's up, everybody? It's AyyScare here, and I wanted to bring this game to my channel. This is a game that I kind of bought on a whim, but honestly, I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. It's called Kingdoms Reborn, and the easiest way to think of this or describe it is Banished combined with Civilization. Very similar to some of my other series. This game does have some decent music, but I currently have it turned off. For the Let's Play series, I would like for you to just kick it with whatever music you want in the background, and I'll be chatting over my gameplay, basically. So, before we jump in, a couple of notes. First, this game actually does have a surprising active multiplayer at this time. I actually just tried recording this, and I clicked multiplayer, and there were like 8 lobbies. There were some that didn't have the best of names, though, so I'm not going to click on it live here just because I don't feel like editing that after the fact. But the game does seem to have multiple lobbies that you can join to hop in with other people. Most of the lobbies are private, so it's going to be best if you have friends to play with. If you see this series, or if I'm still running this game on my channel in the future, feel free to drop a comment, and we can game it up sometime together. So with that, I'm going to hop into the single player, and it's going to be worth noting here, this game is still in early access. The AI players, I'm going to have probably 2 of them turned on, just so we can, see them in action. But I will say down here, it warns you, AI players are still primitive. The AI is definitely wonky and not good so far. Also, it says large map could be unstable. I'm going to be honest, even the small maps seem pretty big in this game to me. So I don't see that being a problem, at least for this series. The AI, again, they're not the best, but we will have them turned on just so that we can see some war later on in this game. In the multiplayer, you can go to war with other civilizations and stuff, so we'll kind of see that here. We're going to do a new game. Similar to many games of this type, it's got the random map seed going, so I'm just going to click that a few times. We'll run it on a small map, very low sea level, wet, medium, medium. We'll do 2 AIs, and we'll have it set on hard for this playthrough. So far, I've played about 20 hours of this game, so I feel like I have a decent backbone to this game right now, but I'm definitely not like some great pro player or anything like that. So, the Great Freeze left civilization in ruin. There are few strong that withstand the cold and plague that claimed the earth. So, let's go ahead and hop in here. And kind of similar to Civilization, the game works based on a good number of different resource types. So here you can see you're going to have like your standard wood, and mountains will give you things like stone. You have water. You then have other things here like cannabis, coals, iron, cotton, and a bunch of other ones. So if we look at the map here, and just a reminder, this is a small map. And if you look here, you can see the other computers have already put down their starting spots. In this game, unlike Civilization, you are going to be handling every single building placement and every single person. So, to me, in the games that I've tried online, even these small maps, it sometimes takes like a few hours to border somebody else and actually be able to go to war. So, yeah, I think that we have a decent size map here, even with small. So, to start out, I normally like finding a spot where I have access to water. Having access to a river is also good. And then I also like having a few different resource types surrounding me. So let me find a spot that I like. Down here actually looks pretty nice. Only catch here is, I don't think, until later game, you can't take land that's across water. So I think that this would actually be kind of like a point where I wouldn't be able to expand right away. So maybe not there, although over here is still fine. Just take a little bit of a further look here. I feel like up here is definitely a good spot. There's a lot of coal, a lot of iron, which is great for kind of that mid-game portion. I don't want to go like on the other side of the map because I want to be able to show war at some point. So maybe we will go up in this area. So here I do have access to water. I have access to a river. I have access to iron and coal somewhat soon. We'll have access to cotton, cocoa, and coffee. Okay, this actually sounds perfect. So let's grab a starting spot. I'm going to go... Oh, it says that's very hard. All right. Not enough buildable space. Here's one that's normal difficulty. Not a huge fan of that, though, because I'm going to be... a lot of my starting space is going to be that mountain, which you can't really build on. Here's another good one. Here we go. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and start here, and it looks like this is going to be a coal deposit, which means I'll have access to build a coal mine in here. We'll have access to a number of different types of resources up front here. I think that this saves between your games, so maybe it doesn't actually. I'm going to lower my amount of medicine, up my amount of wood, because what I find is that I run out of wood like crazy early game. So let's run with this for now. All right, because we're on water, we unlocked a bridge, and we can now place our town hall. So right there, main area there, that's the town hall itself. The spot that's over to the left, that's your starting storage. So you can push R to rotate around. I do like the idea of having my storage kind of in the center. So let's go with something like that. All right, then we get a starting card. So we can either choose to start with wheat, which I don't think I'm going to do, trading post or investment. Of these options, I'm going to go investment. We're going to get trading posts relatively early, so I think the extra money will help. And here I can choose to either get more farms or charcoal burner, but because we started on a place with coal, I don't think that I really need that, so I'm going to do improved farming. We'll go ahead and unlock that card. All right. So first and foremost, I'm going to pause here by pressing the space bar. The game kind of works on a card system. So you'll see this over this first episode, but there are different types of cards. If you mouse over this one, you see it says type town slot. So that means that I have to put it on my town hall. That's how I actually use that card. So that's going to give me +1 income for every 20 I own. So after I unpause it here, we should see that my +18 here will probably up to, what, +50 or so? Let's just see. Yeah, +58. Perfect. And then we do have a coal mine, but I'm going to do some stuff before placing that. So if we click the little axe and pickaxe down here, this is where we will be able to choose to go ahead and gather some starting things. Let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them to go ahead and clear out this area down here. All right, while they're doing that, I'll explain a little bit more of the game. Here's where you will find all of your kind of typical buildings. So this is where we'll find things like roads, houses, storage yards, bridges. In the future, we'll also find things like farms, warehouses, and things like that. More specialized buildings are going to be found through the card system. Now, real quick, my storage is full, so I actually have to go ahead and do something here. I'm going to go ahead and place my first little plot of homes. So I'm going to do a quick road there, and then some homes. And one thing there, if you hold down the shift key, you will be able to place more at a time. And my plan here is to get just like a little village here to get us started. All right, so now that we have that, we should see that some of the people will start actually building and using some of our resources. So going back, while they're doing that, I'm going to show the card system. So throughout the game, you're going to unlock many new cards and many new types of buildings. But basically I think it's 3 minutes, although right now we're playing on 2x speed. So basically every time this timer gets down to 0. You get an additional card that can be drawn. Each one of these will give you 5 different cards that you can pick from, and you can pick multiple. So as an example here, I'm going to actually go ahead and grab 2 fishing lodges to get the food production going here. One thing that's worth noting in this game is that you can't survive off of like just one type of resource. You can, but it affects your happiness. So making sure that you have a mix of like fish, different types of fruits, different kinds of farms will help out with your happiness over time. But to just get started here, I am just looking to get up a couple of things here to just make sure that basically I survive. And there we go, there's my other fishing lodge. For a second there, it disappeared. I was like, what the heck? Okay, let's see. All of this is probably going to be pretty much the same efficiency, and even though here it's going to be a little bit more efficient in terms of how many fish I can catch, it's going to be a longer haul to actually storage it and then get the food to the people's homes. So I'm going to take just the slight efficiency loss to go ahead and just place it down here. All right, we're going to go ahead and drop in our roads. The roads aren't required, but they do speed things up, so it's good to have them. I'm going to speed up the game here a little bit so that we can go ahead and get some of our buildings built. Let's see what else we have to choose from here. We just got our new card. All right, so we can get a forester. That's good early game. And a fruit gatherer. I'm going to be honest. The fruit gatherer, in my experience, is pretty bad at actually getting you a good amount of food, but it will help in getting you the diversity of food. So let me just look here. It doesn't look like we have that many fruit trees. There's a ton of fruit trees up here, so we'll probably expand up here relatively soon. Can I actually do that already? Yeah, I can already afford this. I'm actually going to do that. That way I can go ahead and get a fruit gatherer and forester. So forester will automatically cut some wood for us and replant plants as well. So let's go ahead and get him there. And then we're going to put a fruit gatherer right next door just so that there will be some fruit for us to get. Get a little road going up there. Perfect. All right. So a few other things of this game while people are building and collecting some opening stuff for us. You have this speed boost, which you get one of these, I think it's every 50 seconds. And right now we don't really have anything to use it on, but we'll be able to use it shortly to like speed up our fishing there, or we can use it to speed up probably our fruit gatherer or something like that. So the one other thing that happened there that I think I clicked not now one that I should probably touch on is once you have your first house, you get access to the tech tree. So this tech tree is new as of the last big update. So more than likely, if you're seeing this in the coming like months, this will probably change significantly. But you can see here, very similar to like Civilization, we're going to kind of progress through the times. We're going to go from basic tools, pottery, up to baking, schools, goldsmiths, concrete factories, electricity. And then soon, I forget when it happens, it might be after you get to middle age. I think you get it before that, actually. There's actually a second type of tech tree called the upgrade tree, where you can also spend some of that money. Or, what do they call this? Like technology points. Science. That's what they call it in this game, science. So here, we're going to just let our people kind of work here. So now that we have our first little fishing lodge here, and we actually now have 2 of them, you can see here we can use our speed boost to go ahead and just help us get some additional food up front. Also, this maxes out at 4, so you do kind of want to keep an eye on it and make sure that you're using it. Even if you're not using it on the best of buildings or best of cases, it's better to use it than not use it. So you can see here we're collecting some fruit over here. Our fisheries are starting to get us different foods. And there, not every building, but the majority of buildings will have some upgrades that you can buy. So like this one will give us 50% productivity. It costs us 24 steel tools, though. For me, early game, at least in my experience so far, I'm a big fan of doing this. And you can shift click to do it to all the buildings at once. So right now we're early game, doesn't matter too much, but later game, you might have like 200 homes that you need to upgrade. So this shift click option is absolutely fantastic. So you can see we upgraded both of them. I'm going to get an additional worker slot at each one too. And eventually we'll end up getting the juicier bait, but that's a little bit more expensive, so I'll wait on that one. Up here you can see our forester has already started getting us like 50 wood per season, which is cool. And let me just check one thing here. So prioritize planting fruit trees. That is what I want. That way my fruit gatherer here will be able to get more production. All right, so we kind of have our first little gathering here. Now, very similar to other games of this sort, the hard time tends to be your winter. That's when you tend to run into a lot of problems with people freezing to death and dying. So let's go ahead and get up our coal mine. You have to put this kind of against a mountain, so that's why I have it going over here. And we'll go ahead and get our little dirt road. And right now we don't have a lot of money, so yeah, like I can't even afford most of the things in here right now. I could get something like a pig ranch, which would get us another type of food. But I think food-wise, I'll probably be okay. These 2 fishing lodges should do okay for us until mid-game, basically. Eventually, you definitely need other types of food, farms, things like that. I don't think I have actually unlocked a farm yet. Yeah, so depending on your starting point, let me pause here for a second to explain this. So if I had started like here where you get cocoa farming, there I would already have access to farms. Now I would probably only be able to plant the cocoa seeds at this point, but by mid-game you're going to have like, I don't want to say 50, but it's a good amount of different farming technologies. So people are running around, getting all set up. I'm going to go ahead and tell them to go ahead and cut down some of these trees down here because we're going to end up needing some additional spots for more homes and more production here in a little bit. You can see here we're definitely, although according to that, we are still eating more than we're producing food-wise. But good to know. So Statistics Bureau, especially late game, this becomes a lot more useful. I'm going to go ahead and just place it like on the back side of this. I'm not going to worry about trading right now. I don't have enough to trade. There are a few building types that they're important to have, like this one. So here you can see a breakdown on all your different resources, all your different buildings, all of that. But outside of that, this building doesn't do much, so I like placing it somewhere like that where it's kind of off the beaten path, but still right where I'm going to be looking a lot of the time. All right, looks like we have a lot of storage, or we're low on storage is what I meant to say. So I'm going to build another storage spot there. And we're now at a point that I should now be able to go ahead and, give me 1 second here, I just want to cut down some of this stone. There we go. So we're now at a point where we can probably afford something else. A quarry early game is very important because it gets you stone. Right now we have like 187 stone, but it's something that we will use quite a bit early game. So I am going to go ahead and use basically all my money on the quarry. And I should be able to place that basically right here next to the, let's see, there we go. Perfect. So one thing that I'll just talk about here while our guys kind of run around and do what they need to do. The game runs pretty complex supply chains. So early game here through the first like couple of episodes of this, you're probably not going to see me run into too many problems. But once we get it where we have like 500 population, there's a lot of little nuances that I've found that honestly are really cool, but it's frustrating trying to figure out why certain things are happening. As an example, I had one episode, or not episode, but one other round of this that I was playing where like I had a population of like 600 at the time, and I had like people just dying from starvation every single second. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I have like 2,000 food. This doesn't make any sense. And basically all my food was getting hoarded at one specific storage spot. And there were a bunch of people like way over here that were all starving to death. So I had to figure out how to get like a supply chain where I was basically transferring food from one part of my city to another. And then it fixed the problem. But when you're new to a game like this, it's extremely frustrating trying to figure out what you're doing wrong, basically. So hopefully we'll find some of those in future episodes here that we'll be able to dig into and see if we can figure out the problems. So a couple of quick notes there. I'm pausing here for a second. Over here you get certain basically like objectives or quests. I actually might get the upgrade tree once I do this one. But basically I went ahead and fished 500 fish. So now I can use this cooperative fishing, which basically I could replace investments with cooperative fishing. If I upgrade to a level 2, I could also use cooperative fishing. That being said, I don't plan to have fishing as a main resource type for me. I'm using it early game, and I'll continue having them there just to get me some additional food, but it's not something that I plan to use throughout this playthrough. So I'm going to go ahead and sell this. When you click this, you have the option to sell it for a certain amount of money. And then I'm going to go in here and see what else we can get. So getting a tavern is pretty important. Just helps with your base happiness. We already have a quarry, and we have a mushroom farm here. Mushroom farms are pretty good in my experience. However, they do require wood in order to grow the mushrooms. And right now we're relatively low on wood. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and buy a tavern here. And then it automatically brought up the next card. So in here, nothing that I'm too interested in right now, so I'm just going to cancel that. One thing that's worth noting, if you get up to 5 cards stored, they replace the 5 cards with what they call a wild card, which allows you to basically, it allows you to pick any card you have access to, but you're only allowed to pick 1 card. So if you are able to get the cards that you need through the original deck, it is a little bit more advantageous. Now here we are out of laborers right now, so I don't think that I have access to actually do that on my own right now. So I guess we'll sit here and wait a second or two, and let's see. I'll get rid of a couple of my fishermen. That way, those people go back into the pot here. Soon we'll be able to manually adjust these numbers to what we need, but there's a little bit of limitations on that early game. There we go. So I lowered the amount of workers on certain things, which gave us back some laborers and builders. Let's see. I don't really want any of these, so I'm going to pass on those. Maybe getting at least 1 pig ranch would be worthwhile. An immigration office is also great, but I'm not sure I want one this early. I guess we could sit on it, though, so let's go ahead and select both of those. I don't need a charcoal builder or burner because I already have a coal mine. If you picked a spot that didn't have access to coal, you would definitely need one of these, but I should be fine on that front. So we'll go ahead and click OK, and let's go ahead and place these in. So a pig ranch, this thing is ginormous, but something like that should be fine. And then the immigration office, I'm trying to leave this area clear because once we have farms are significantly higher productivity if they're near water. So I'm going to try to keep these over. Now, the immigration office is one that I will probably throw next to the statistics building just because it's not one that I really need people to be running back and forth to. Look at that. This is not related to the immigration building. Just every now and then, you'll have access to getting kind of random immigrants. So we'll go ahead and take that. Okay, now that we got 25, it looks like that actually gave us access to a specific book. These books early game are not very useful, but mid to late game, they become extremely useful. So for right now, I'm going to grab a productivity book. The other two are not all that useful right now, but they will be later game. Oh, and it looks like something happened with the tribe that I missed, so we have access to another type of book. I'm going to grab a passion book this time. This will help with job happiness and productivity. So most of the buildings where people actually work will have 2 card slots where you can slip these building slot cards into. So in here, these productivity books and passion books, I'm going to, for now, put these on my fishing lodges. This will just make it so that we will be able to get some additional fish, which should help us out kind of early game. Here's our employment bureau. This is another building that I tend to throw near my statistics building. And this allows us to kind of in a one-stop shop set up our job numbers. So this also should allow us now, we can come in here and say like, oh, I always want 2 builders, I always want 5 laborers, something like that. All right, so we have ourselves a pig ranch now. That will help us. I think pig ranches only provide, they only provide beef. There are other types of ranches that will also give you things like wool and possibly leather and things like that. But for right now, we don't have that. So now we have our immigration office. So basically every time that this goes to a full circle, it will automatically give me an additional person, which is awesome, but it's also like a double-edged sword because it can sometimes be hard to actually keep your stuff up and running properly for that. I need to make sure I use these. All right. I have 7 laborers, so that should be enough that I can now put a couple of additional people on here. This was the one thing that I mentioned earlier. So I reached 5 cards. So now I have this wild card, which allows me to buy 1 of any card that I have access to. But it is limited to 1, which is the downside of it. So let's see here. We're almost out of housing. So let's go ahead and get 1 or 2 additional homes going. A little road in between there. And do homes fit in here? They do, but they have really bad appeal. At least over here. So basically, if you put homes too close to certain industries, they get less appealing. But in my experience, as long as you have an appeal of around 80, you're pretty much good to go. Mid-game, you get access to certain types of buildings that will increase appeal. Now, we haven't done much here. I've built up 183 science points. So let's go ahead and in here. I'm going to unlock basic medicine. I should be able to do that right away because it's only 70 points. And then, let's see, we can access the sheep ranch. We can get our mushrooms to be more efficient. Or we can start going for foreign trade. We have money for this, so I'm going to actually, wait, I'd like having a little bit more money for this because you will be able to buy 2 of these. Actually, it looks like I have access to that. All right, let's go ahead and try it. All right. Do I want to buy a trading post? Yes. Do I want to try a trading port? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to pause here for a second just to make sure that I get everything in line here. So trading posts, those go on land. Trading port, those go like a harbor to the water. It is actually extremely important later game how you place these because right now I have all my storage in this spot, right? But let's say that I had a storage over here and a storage like over here. And I put a trading port right here and I export it like all my food, as an example, right? Or not all, but let's say that I export like 400 food. It would pull all the food from this storage before it ever looked at the next closest storage. So this, again, is an area where I've kind of screwed myself over in the past, where I've accidentally traded resources from one spot, and then all my workers have to then transport crap around. So it is very important that you put this where you actually want it. I'm going to go ahead and throw this back here. And then the trading port, I should be able to throw that right in between like that. And chances are I'm not going to be able to use both of these to like their fullest extent right now, but that's okay. And the medicinal thing that I unlocked here, that is going to be the first thing that I'm allowed to farm. So I can click here to unlock the seed. And now, yep, there we go, unlocked farm. So now in here, I can start creating farms. Now right now I can only use that to actually make medicinal herb farms. But that is something that I will need probably by next year. So medicine is kind of the better version of medicinal herbs. Later on in the game, we'll be able to convert medicinal herbs into medicine. But we definitely don't want to end up with a point where we have no medicine and no medicinal herbs, because that will cause people to die from sickness and things like that. All right, let's go ahead and tell my guys to go ahead and cut down all the stuff over here. I want to leave all the wood as much as I can up here, because my forester is going to automatically handle that end of things. All right, I have some laborers, that's good. My pig ranch is still just breeding pigs. You can see here, they don't actually start killing a pig until, actually this is when they're full capacity. I normally do this at half, at least in my experience so far. So once it gets to 8 pigs, it will kill one off and give us the food from it. A caravan has arrived. There's really, I guess I could trade some of my stone. Sure. So I'm going to sell 80 stone. That will give me about 400 gold. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, I'm trying to think of what I should really go for next here. Let me look at this tech tree for a second. Maybe the stone tools could be useful, because I will have access to stone and wood already. Let's go ahead and go for that. That'll be my next research. And for next year, I do want to make sure that I at least have 1 or 2 farms up for medicinal herb. In this game, the max farm size is 64, and each farm can only have 1 worker on it. So it's my understanding, based on how much I know about this game so far, that it's best to try to max out your farm sizes. Like, having a farm that's only like 16 squares is basically a waste of a worker. So when I'm building farms, you're probably going to see all of my farms are close to the max size of 64. And when that finishes building, it will do medicinal herbs for us. Perfect. Gotta make sure I don't sit with that on full like I have been. Alright, we have some money. We should be able to go ahead and buy some additional things in here. I don't really feel like I need any of these options right now, so I'm going to pass. I guess I can get another quarry. That way, when I get my stone tools, I'll be able to have enough wood and stone to be able to handle building plus the tools. So let's actually get both of those. Now the forester, I really need another spot where another one could go. Let's see here. One other thing that's worth noting here is, it's weird that I can't place this anywhere. I guess I have to like go a little further away. It's like right there I could do it. 1 second here. I'm now focused on trying to get this in. There we go. Perfect. We have them right next to each other. So there are maxes to resources in certain areas. So it won't happen probably for our first number of episodes here, but eventually, I won't be able to mine stone here anymore. So I'll have to be getting that somewhere else. Right now we are very low on food and we're midwinter. Winter's always the hard spot for food, coal, people getting cold, things like that. One big gotcha, if you're new to this game, is that clothing actually gives you no bonus when it comes to people freezing to death. In this game, clothing is considered a luxury, so it is important, probably in the next 2 episodes, that we start getting clothing, because that will allow our homes to level up, our people to be happier, things like that. But in terms of survival, it actually, at least to my understanding, has zero impact in this game. Okay, there we go. I'm not 100% sure what gives it to you, but we now have access to the upgrade tree. So basically, 1 second here. Yeah, I do want a stone shop. And we don't want that near homes, because that will lower their happiness. But maybe I should throw that back. Maybe over here. Actually, over here looks pretty good. And I can put some farms more along the coast. Cool. So as a quick note here, so wood is going to transport from here to the storage. Stone will transport from both of these to the storage. Then somebody's going to have to transfer them to here, and then back here once they become tools. So just a little bit of that kind of all coming together. Now, actually, I'm looking at the clock here. It looks like this episode's already about 40 minutes. So it looks like each episode of this will be about 2 years in game. So that was the first 2 years of our little civilization here. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Next episode, we'll go through years, I guess it's going to be 2 and 3. I guess it technically starts at year 0. So we'll be doing years 2 and 3 next episode, and we'll keep this going. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, and we'll show it here real quick, the CPUs, you'll see that they actually tend to do okay population-wise. They've actually both already fallen behind me. But the CPUs in this game right now are pretty terrible. They seem to put together decent supply lines, but it seems like they don't actually use their resources or something. I don't really know how to describe it. You'll see it probably in a future episode. But main reason to have them in there is just to show in a later episode how the warring works. In multiplayer, this gets a lot of fun. In the single player, I'm going to be honest, the single player right now is more of kind of like a Banished, where you're just kind of building out your city. But it's a great way to show off the game and hopefully get some of you online with me and we game it up. See ya. Until next episode, everybody. AyyScare out.